and to our witnesses and others. I actually, excuse me. Do we have either anyone on by WebEx right now? All right, that means I am next. I want to thank, actually, Chairman Menendez and Ranking Member Risch. Apropos of this discussion, the committee, this committee acted in the last couple months on a resolution I have with Senator Rubio to make clear that no president of the United States can withdraw from NATO without congressional approval. The Constitution is silent about exiting treaties. It's very clear about entering treaties, that a two-thirds Senate vote is needed. It's squarely within the jurisdiction of this committee, and the chair and ranking had a markup on this, and it passed overwhelmingly in the committee. They gave me permission, a clearance, to try to get it added to the annual defense authorizing bill, which we passed out of the SAS committee last week overwhelmingly. But because SAS will not consider matters in the jurisdiction of another committee, even with the agreement of the chair and ranking, I wasn't able to get it added. I was trying to get it added because I thought it would send a really powerful signal about congressional support for NATO on the verge of this next NATO meeting. But we can have another opportunity to send
There's other ways of doing that,
yeah,
as the Senator well knows.
We will look for other ways to do it. But I just wanted to thank the chair and ranking for being willing to let us try it in the Armed Services Bill. We'll look for another way. One of the things that I think is interesting about Sweden and Finland, and we've talked about their respective capacities, economic strength, work together with the United States in the past, is the fact that on these defense matters, they also have a really significant cooperation among them. So you're not just getting, two different new allies, you're getting two allies that have significant capacity, but that also do a lot together. And the fact that they would both approach this NATO membership together is also interesting to me. Talk a little bit about the long-term defense and diplomatic relationship between Sweden and Finland, because I think that actually brings an additional element to the table as we consider NATO accession for the two countries.
I'm happy to start, and you may want to weigh in as well. So I think your observation is on point, and it is striking how closely Finland and Sweden do cooperate in the security and defense area. And interestingly, we saw Finland be the first to announce its intention to seek NATO membership, and then Sweden followed. But if you look at public opinion in Sweden, you saw about a 10 percentage point jump when the Finns announced their commitment to pursuing this. And I think that takes your point of how joined up these two countries are when they think about their own security. And it also relates to how current NATO member states see this. And there was a question earlier about the Balts. And it's interesting because if Finland and Sweden, or when Finland and Sweden join NATO, the Baltic littoral, with the exception of the Russian coast on the Gulf of Finland and Kaliningrad, would be Allied territory, which enables NATO to better monitor activity in and plan the defense of the entire vital region. So you've seen the Baltic foreign ministers state publicly that they and NATO will benefit from Finland and Sweden's strong military capabilities. So I think you see that benefit both on the diplomacy side and on the military side. Over to you.
Secretary Wallander, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, Finland and Sweden bring not only common advantages as strong potential allies, but have, through their own complementary capabilities, worked together, participated in NATO-led or simply multinational exercises in really constructive ways. I'll give you a couple of examples. One is Finland obviously has a very strong territorial defense capability, very important for a country with over 800-mile border with Russia and an experience of fighting the Soviet Union in the 1930s and doing so effectively. And Sweden has substantial capabilities in the maritime domain and has carefully monitored Russian maritime and air activity over the Baltic. And Sweden also has participated in bilateral programs and cooperation with the United States in the area of special operations forces as well. So the two potential allies, aspirant allies, bring similar strengths in their democracies, in their market economies, and their strengths as European countries, and then they each bring their own complementary military capabilities that will further strengthen the NATO alliance.
That's excellent. And Secretary Donfried, I want to ask you a question. You said that some of your colleagues in Europe have described this moment, the February 24 attack of Ukraine, as Europe's 9/11. And I'm pretty sure I know what you mean by that, but I kind of wanted to dig into it further. You know, people who aren't spending a lot of time in Europe and don't know the European reality might think, oh, but, you know, Finland and Sweden, they're quite a ways away from Ukraine. So why would they have viewed an attack on Ukraine as the equivalent of a 9/11 style attack on Europe? So just dig into that a little bit more. I think I know what you mean, but I think it would be important to get this testimony out there.
Well, thank you for the question. I will tell you how I heard it, in fairness to the individual who said it. But the way I heard it was just the sense of shock that Russia in 2022 would undertake this full-scale, unprovoked, unjustified, brutal invasion of its neighbor, Ukraine. And of course, in the first instance, that has tragic implications for Ukraine. And I think we've all been inspired by the bravery of the Ukrainians in meeting that challenge and their resilience. But it also fundamentally alters the European security landscape. And so that's how I understood it, that every country in Europe recalculated its own assessment of its security. And I think Finland and Sweden in so doing, whereas in the past they always believed their security interests were best served by having a NATO partnership, but not being members, that changed almost overnight. So that was how I understood the comment. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that. This is one where in my 10 years here, I've never seen a bigger gulf between the United States and our European allies on our predictions about what was going to happen. We shared the hopes for what would happen or wouldn't happen, and we were sharing the same set of facts upon which to make a prediction. But I agree. I think there was a degree, and I can certainly understand it, of wishful thinking is a somewhat derogatory phrase, a deep hope that, of course, Russia's not going to invade. I mean, that's a muscle-flexing exercise. But when it became a reality, which much of U.S. intel was saying it was going to become a reality, I can see that caused this kind of continent-wide recalibration, as you describe.
And I shouldn't lump all of Europe together. I want to be clear. I do think there were differences in perception across the European continent, just to be clear. I don't mean to say they were all.
I hear you. There being no senators on WebEx now, Senator Hagel